Yeah. But I will tell you, my surfing days are over. I went a little boogie boarding on the lakes in Texas this summer, and 3 runs, and I was exhausted and sore for 3 days afterwards. So,
but we're supposed to do that for our health, I understand.
Well, not supposed to break your bones and tear your ligaments and stuff like that. So I'll find something more appropriate.
Welcome to the Plant Based DFW Podcast Weekly Show. We are your hosts, Dr. Riz and I and Maya Acosta. We are the founders of the Plant Based DFW organization, designed to teach and empower people about the benefits of lifestyle medicine. Remember to tell your podcasting friends that this show is available to listen to for free in any app that supports podcasts. And as you dive into the episodes, never forget, the more you implement these healthy lifestyle changes, the more you will upgrade your health. Thank you for being part of the community. Welcome back to another episode of the Plant Based DFW podcast show. I am Maya Acosta, and I'm very excited about this episode. I'll be sharing an interview that we had, Dr. Riz and I, when we were in Maui in December of 2019. Dr. Riz was invited to speak in Oahu and also in Maui by the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii. This is the organization that brings in some amazing speakers in that area, like Dr. Michael Greger, Dr. Khan. Every month, they have these amazing speakers. We were very fortunate to have been able to visit the group before COVID hit. Before we move on to that episode, I have some announcements. One of them is that, as many of you know, we promote lifestyle medicine. That includes not only plant-based nutrition, but also exercise as medicine, and also building relationships along with stress management. Well, Walk with a Doc, the organization that we're also part of, reached out to us and told us about their Grand Canyon adventure. And so we jumped in and went ahead and created 3 teams so that we can be part of this. And we wanted to share it with you so that you can join us. This is a virtual event. I am creating a separate video to show people how to register and join our team and how to log in their miles. Basically, each team can have between 1 and 5 people, and you have 14 days from February the 13th through the 26th to complete 70 miles around the rim of, and a certain portion along the rim of the Grand Canyon. If you have a team of 5, you only have to walk 1 mile a day to do your part. But we want to encourage people to do as much as they can. This is about wellness. And just to share more information about this, basically what they say, in honor of Heart Health Month and in response to the Surgeon General's call to action to control hypertension, the Walk with the Doc organization is partnering with Love One Today to show our hearts some love. We will combine movement, any kind you like that is safe to do in your area. So walking, swimming, housework, table tennis, running, any kind of form of exercise in your area, with education about heart healthy nutrition like fresh avocados to fuel the body. And we'll do it together because investing in yourself by stepping up movement, good nutrition, and social connections are all important ways to improve your heart health. If you want to join, like I said, I'm making a video and I'll include the link in the show notes of this podcast. But basically, if you'd like to join, go to walkwithadoc.org/adventure. One of our groups is called Plant Based DFW, and the other one is Walk with a Doc, Dr. Riz, and then another one is called Team Buki or Team Bukari. I'll include the links as well. So we hope to see you there. We're just trying to encourage people to be more active. This Tuesday, February the 2nd, we have the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine's nutrition class that resumes again. And make sure that you sign up for that. It's a free class, part of an 8-week series where you will learn all sorts of tips on going plant-based with experts. And I'm there every Tuesday chatting as well. So I hope you join. It's pcrm.org/nutrition class. And finally, Dr. Riz will be a guest speaker for the Green and Fit Frisco group. I'll include a link as well in the show notes. He will be a guest speaker for this month again related to heart health. So make sure that you visit the Facebook event so that you can sign up. Okay, so let's move on to today's episode. So Dr. Riz and I were invited to be on KAKU 88.5 FM, The Voice Voice of Maui with Bill and Bobbie Best on their segment called Off the Record. And it was a very pleasant conversation that we had with Bill and Bobbie, and we wanted to share with you. It gives you a little bit more insight as to who we are and the kind of things that we do. We mentioned Walk with a Doc because it's an organization that we really believe in. So anyway, if you have any questions, you can always email me at plantbasedmaya@gmail.com. And I hope that you enjoy this episode and stay healthy this month, you guys. Thanks for listening.
Aloha, this is Bill Best on KAKU 88.5 FM with Bobbie D. Best. Even though you can't see her, I guarantee she is there. I'm playing Todd Rundgren's Healing right now because we have Dr. Riz and Maya in the studio. And welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you very much. We're very excited to be here. Love being back in Maui, and it's so nice of you to invite us to join you today.
I would say you're both in the healing profession.
If you had to choose, is it more important to have a healthy diet, which you're going to describe, or consistent exercise?
Oh, that's a really good question. And, I use this expression that you cannot exercise away a bad diet.
Right.
So I think diet and exercise are both extremely important. We need both of them. But I would call it an 80-20 thing. 80% is diet, 20% is exercise. And that's something that, I think many of us agree with, and I kind of started adhering to maybe about a decade ago.
I know that you can't really expect exercise to help you lose weight, but there are other benefits.
Absolutely. I mean, exercise is a component of a healthy lifestyle. I'm a big nutritionist in medicine. I talk about that a lot, but there's other aspects of our lives that we have to look at, and that's why I'm a lifestyle medicine specialist. And so nutrition is a significant aspect of our lifestyle, but so is exercise. So it is an important component, but then we talk about things such as getting adequate sleep, managing your stress, having good friendships and relationships in your lives, having some sort of spirituality outlet. So you kind of create a well-rounded lifestyle. And all of those things are important aspects.
And if I can kind of add to your question, Bobbie, so just recently, I think it was last month, we were at the Lifestyle Medicine Conference in Orlando, Florida, and we sort of split up because we both want to be able to attend as many lectures as possible and then share that with each other. And I attended the Exercise as Medicine or Exercise is Medicine lecture, and it addressed that, why is it that we only look at going to the gym to kind of build our abs and muscles and tighten this and tighten that when there are people in great need of exercise? So just like the pharmaceutical reps dress up to go knock on the doctor's door and sell pills, why are fitness instructors not knocking on the doctor's door and saying, I have something for your patients?
That's a good idea.
Right? Because the patients still need exercise, whether they have hypertension or obesity or diabetes. The exercise still is medicine.
Yeah, it helps with all those things. It does help. It helps with your heart. It helps with hypertension. But, and we also need that muscle building and strength as we grow older. We need the resistance on our bones to prevent fractures and prevent osteoporosis. So we need all of those things.
So when you say heart, if somebody has AFib, that's not going to help, right?
Typically, that's a rhythm disturbance, and without me getting too detailed about it, exercise isn't going to specifically affect the atrial fibrillation, but exercise is going to make you overall more healthy. So, would you rather be an unhealthy person with atrial fibrillation, or would you rather be a healthier person with atrial fibrillation? And, there's always the one-off stories, and I don't talk about anecdotes as being proof, but you often hear about people who start a good exercise program and a healthy lifestyle, and their atrial fibrillation goes away.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't hang my hat on it, but that does
There's
happen.
a possibility.
Yeah. The heart failure improves, the atrial fibrillation goes away, and a rhythm disturbance might improve. So you never know when sometimes that disturbance in the heart rhythm might be just some sort of metabolic issue related to poor overall general health, and you improve it, and it goes away. But like I said, that's the one-off type story, not the general thing.
One of our guests from the Vegetarian Society finally got me to realize that I swim, I walk, I do other things, but I started just putting YouTube on the TV and going through finding hits. So high intensity interval training. And so what do you think is optimum for me to do that?
That's kind of what I do. I do a little bit of a high intensity interval training type of program. I think that it can shorten the length of your workout.
Yeah.
And there's some benefits to it. So, I hear something similar to that.
So how often do you do it?
I do it 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Yeah. I think that we talk about walking. We sponsor some walking events. We do a walk with the doc. It's part of a national organization. We actually started on our own. It was walk and talk with Dr. Riz. So people could come out and join me for a walk. We would walk around the neighborhood, and then we found out about this national organization called Walk with the Doc, and we joined them. And so every month, every third Saturday of the month in our local neighborhood, we have a walk where people can come out and join us. So we want to encourage regular physical activity. And so the general guidelines are 30 minutes of brisk walking 5 days a week. You want 150 minutes of moderate exercise. If you want to step it up to vigorous exercise, you can cut your time in half. So if you're starting to do that high intensity interval training, then you could probably do 75 minutes, which is 15 minutes a day. But you can also step it up to 300 minutes of regular exercise or 150 minutes of HIIT, and there's even further benefits beyond that baseline up to about that level. So regular daily exercise is an important part of a healthy lifestyle.
We see that in the blue zones, people are typically just active throughout the day. They may not hit the gym or the treadmill, but they're just always moving in their environment. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Michael Greger addresses that as well in his How Not to Die book. He talks about how sitting is the new smoking. Right. So and most of us sit in an office or do some sort of work on our computer. And even if you're hitting the gym 3 times a week, but you're sitting 6 hours a day, there's still damage that's happening.
You're kind of almost negating the benefit of that gym work. So regular exercise, she was mentioning the blue zones. Uh-huh. These people are active. They're gardening all day. They don't drive down the street to the neighbors. They walk. Mm-hmm. And so they're active the entire day when they're up and around.
And they're not watching the tube.
But most of them probably don't have TVs.
Yeah.
We're talking with Dr. Rizwan Bukhari, MD, and his wife Maya. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Rizwan, Dr. Riz, is talking tonight at the Cameron Center. If you're listening on Thursday, December 12th, that's when we do the show live. It is happening tonight at the Cameron Center, and thanks to the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, they bring these wonderful, just professional speakers to the Valley Isle once a month, usually on a Thursday, and almost always at the Cameron Center, 95 Mahalani Street. So if you've got the time, if you're concerned about heart disease in particular, 7 p.m. is the time tonight at the J. Walter Cameron Center, and the talk is Preventing Heart Disease, a free presentation and incidentally refreshments courtesy of Down to Earth Organic and Natural. And if you have questions, you can always refer to the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii. They actually post these talks from Oahu, I think every month.
So were they video recording last night? So people can go to the Vegetarian Society website and see that talk.
They filmed it and recorded it, so I think it takes them a few days, but they'll have it posted eventually. We do a lot of our own recordings, and we post on our website.
What is your website?
It's a Plant Based DFW. DFW stands for Dallas Fort Worth. So it's just all plantbaseddfw.com.
And that's your hometown?
Yes.
Dallas Fort Worth. Yeah. How healthy is Dallas these days?
Dallas is just like everybody else, so I don't want to disparage my hometown. I love my hometown, but they're just like every other American city. So
if I can add, though, Fort Worth is now considered a blue zone.
Really?
Yes. And, blue zone has a whole component of not just nutrition, but also creating streets and areas that get the community to be more active. So you want to say more?
So they're not a blue zone like the 5 places on in the earth that are designated blue zones, but they are an active blue zone community. Mm-hmm. Meaning that they are making a concerted effort, actually sponsored by the mayor of Fort Worth, which I'm very impressed. Yeah. She's the one who made the efforts to try to get them designated as a community where they are instituting lots of blue zone type activities to make their people healthier.
That their Maine Medical School, the University of North Texas Health Science Center, now has a lifestyle medicine master's degree program. And so, which teaches all these basically blue zone components.
Yeah.
So few doctors know about nutrition.
Yeah.
I heard a doctor telling someone who with diabetes, don't eat carbs.
Right.
That's not good advice. She didn't specify different kinds of carbs.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, if you go back to my generation of doctors who were taught back in the 80s and 90s, or even preceding all that, nutrition was not a part of our training.
Well, they used to tell us you should smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, no,
It's good for you.
right.
It calms you down.
no, don't get me started there. So specifically about the nutrition, we have what we call an acute care model of Western medicine, which is meant to treat problems, not prevent them. And it developed over 100 years ago when our problems were acute illnesses like the flu or an infection or an injury. And so Western medicine was meant to treat those. Now, fast forward 100 years where most of our disease is chronic conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, hypertension, coronary artery disease, autoimmune disorders, arthritis, which are not acute injuries. They've developed over decades, yet we're still applying that Western care model. And so now, we were taught the Western care model, which is wait for a problem to occur and then treat it. And nutrition is not a part of that model. Now, so I didn't get that training, and neither did any of my colleagues.
Yeah.
And so now when all of this whole generation of doctors, when you go to this generation of doctors, they don't really have any good basis for helping patients use nutrition as a way to prevent disease. And now, but the good news is things are changing, and there's a little bit of momentum. We work with other people and physicians and other organizations to educate medical students. We were hoping to speak to the University of Hawaii on this trip, but it just didn't work out because of the timing for their exams and things, and I was very disappointed. Right. But we've spoken at medical schools and speak to medical students, and the idea here is to plant that seed in these young doctors' minds. Yeah. And so now moving forward, they've heard about nutrition, and they understand that nutrition is important in preventing disease and maybe even reversing disease. And so going forward, when their patients start to talk to them, the whole new generation is going to be different. Okay. And I hope that means it makes a major impact on what happens.
What would you say to that doctor who said don't eat carbs?
I would say, hey, I understand because I was right there with you a decade ago. Okay, and because we weren't taught, we were taught, okay, somebody's got diabetes, it's not curable. The only thing we can do now is try to control their blood sugar. Okay, but the reality is that a great majority of type 2 diabetes that's acquired as an adult throughout our lifetime is either can be reversed to a great extent or eliminated through the changes in your diet, and that's through the elimination of fat in your diet, because it's the fat in your diet that actually causes the type 2 diabetes. And I won't get into the exact physiologic mechanism, but in a nutshell, the fat is blocking the insulin receptor.
And you mean bottled oil, right?
We always fat from our diet, fat in meat, which is the primary culprit, right. Fat in our cheese, fat in our dairy, and so these fat sources are the lipids are blocking the insulin receptor and causing the insulin not to work. Okay, but if we reduce that fat significantly, the receptor is no longer blocked. Insulin works, and then the sugar goes in the blood cell. So we're not worried then about, hey, you can't have that fruit to eat because all we're doing is managing your blood sugar. Instead, we're actually helping cure or reverse your diabetes so you can have that fruit and not worry about it.
Later on, they can have avocados and nuts till they...
She also recommended eating salmon as a source for what?
Probably
omega-3s.
Yeah,
That's the only reason people eat fish.
Right, yeah.
We have guests like you on once a month, and one of them told us of a vegan source that replaces...
And there are.
Yeah.
There's algae-based sources of omega-3, so you don't need to eat meat. And what happens is, remember we just said earlier, when you're... you go exercise 3 times a week, but then you sit on the couch for 6 hours watching TV, so you've negated the benefits of exercise. They just cancel each other out and you're no better. So in the same way, if you start going and eating salmon for your for your omega-3s, you've negated the benefit of those omega-3s because you're eating that meat and that getting all that
Flesh.
fat.
Yeah.
Right,
So
the fat.
when you look at anything that you take into your body, you have to weigh the benefits, and you have to look at the good stuff and the bad stuff. And so we push to tell people, okay, when you're making food choices, look at that food that you're putting in your body and try to make good choices, make better choices, something that has very little negative benefit to no negative benefit and very high positive benefit. And for me, that is plant foods. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains, and we also very important is to eliminate processed foods. Processed foods in our diet are very unhealthy. Not only can you not say the ingredients and you don't know what kind of toxic chemicals you're putting in your body, but they often are full of fat, oil, and sugar. All of those are bad for us.
Skip the middle animal and go straight to the source, which is plant.
Yeah,
Plant foods.
and plants are healthier. They're full of phytonutrients, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and then also, we also tell people to very much limit or even eliminate animal products because those are very poor in nutrition. They might be a source of protein, but they don't have any phytonutrients. They don't have any antioxidants. They don't have any fiber. They have very little minerals and vitamins. Really, so those are that is a primary food choice is where the negative way outweighs the positive.
When people ask me about where do you get the protein, I say, where do you get your fiber?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, 97% of Americans are fiber deficient.
Well,
and that's that standard American diet.
We should also point out the cruelty involved with meat and its production. And I would say I wouldn't encourage people to stop eating meat. I would encourage them to find out how their food is produced.
Good point.
How is your meat produced? Are you contributing to the cruelty of animals? Maybe you're part of PETA, and then, what do? You have chicken for dinner. Well, check out how chicken is raised and how it's slaughtered. Check out how all animals are slaughtered. Don't be part of this cruel world
And
of
eggs and dairy.
butchering and
Yeah.
and they make it look so nice. Everything is all packaged real nice. You go to the store, they don't have the animal on the other side of the counter being killed with a hammer.
Right.
Really, it's just a horror. If you've ever seen any horror movie, it doesn't even compare to the horror that takes place in these slaughterhouses and chicken farms and pig farms and the waste that comes off those farms is just disgusting.
All for the sake of a few minutes of pleasure.
Or a few seconds
And
as
like
it crosses your palate.
Eggs are so easy to add to a dish. It makes it taste better. You feel like you're getting your protein. But that's very cruel, too. And it's probably not good for your heart either, Doctor.
You know what I would say? Absolutely, it's one of the worst things for your heart. The cholesterol in eggs is horrible. And then even if people say, well, I take the egg yolks out, well, the egg white protein is a very unhealthy protein. So it's a meat protein, and it's very unhealthy for you. You know, what I might add is that the benefits, we talk about the health benefits of this diet, but I mean, there's tremendous benefits from an animal standpoint and an environmental standpoint. So there's many good reasons to take good care of yourself, and at the same time, you're taking care of animals and the planet.
That's right.
You talked about if the people getting this pretty package that they see at the store. I saw this little video, and it was a kind of a reenactment of, well, what they did is people would go to the store and they would order something, and so then the butcher would right there act like they're killing the animal right in front of the person, and suddenly the people didn't want the meat anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
When they realized how that meat was being made for them, it changed it. Now, it'd be very interesting to see if the next day, if they just got their pretty little package back, would they still buy it? But I do agree with you that once people begin to look at the source, it might affect their choices.
And for years, people thought fish don't feel pain. And they convinced themselves, and I live on the beach, and people will say, well, I throw the fish back in the water. Well, what about traumatizing them when they couldn't breathe when they're out of the water and damaging their mouths, and they have emotions,
Yeah. I think one of the most horrific scenes that I saw about fishing was we watched these sailors online on YouTube, and they were fishing as they were sailing. So they caught a fish, was reeling it in, this individual, and then I guess a shark or another fish ate portion of it. So what came up was just the head.
Oh.
And that was horrifying.
Yeah,
Even
sure.
the individual who's not vegan, who was fishing, was horrified by the scene.
sure.
You know, the hook was on the eye. I mean, I just don't want to say more, but it was horrifying.
I know. And we just kind of accept it because we grew up with all of that.
Yeah.
And but this is the time of year when people get together and they have turkey and they have a lot of other things that probably wouldn't be on your diets. By the way, I should mention Dr. Riz and Maya are married, and I'm always interested in what plant-based people have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and especially around the holidays. So I bet you've got a few good recipes that
Yeah, sure. So what I
love to
did,
share.
first we started off our day with a a smoothie.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big green smoothie there.
This one has spirulina in it.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's called a plant protein. That's why smoothie. And then you're having...
Mine is a kale smoothie. So I'm a big greens person, and if you come to my talk tonight, you'll understand why, or we might even get into it. But greens are extremely heart healthy.
Well, I love spinach. I hate kale. I can't stand the taste of it. And I say, Bobby, just get more spinach. I'll eat all the spinach in the world. Oh, no, you got to have that kale.
Or find a different way. This is a kale smoothie, and you can't
Yeah,
tell
we both
it tastes
had kale.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, the other thing that some people don't know is that you have to massage the kale nicely, not only to soften it because it can be a little bit firm or tough, and then flavor it nicely. We like to put like pomegranate seeds and a little bit of watermelon to our salads to add a kick, like a flavor.
And you can
but-
experiment with your kales too. There's different kinds. Some are more bitter than others. I started taking the stem out, so I realized the stem was a little bit bitter and harder. And so there's different things you can do. By the way, you don't have to eat kale. There's a dozen types of greens.
Well, can I just have my spinach?
Well,
I love
spinach is good, but I would encourage a variety.
Remember Popeye?
Yeah, you can
Come
have
on.
your spinach.
But I would
And
encourage
eat
a
it too.
variety. And
A variety of
yeah.
spinach?
No.
Spinach,
A variety
spinach
of
has
greens.
a variety of greens, even a variety of spinaches, but a variety of greens. Spinach I don't want to. I eat a lot of spinach, so I'm not taking away from it. But spinach is high in oxalates, and so when you eat spinach, the calcium, which is spinach is a great source of calcium, but oxalates bind the calcium, and so you don't absorb that calcium. So spinach as a source of calcium is not very good. But the other thing is, for us as we age, kidney stones can be an issue, and so we don't want too many oxalates in our circulating because oxalate stones are one of the biggest sources of kidney stones. And I'm not trying to scare people away because that incidence is extremely low. But my point being is don't eat 10 servings of spinach a day when your opportunity is to mix up your greens.
Do you have to be a chemist to eat food?
No.
It just seems like...
Just eat food and eat a variety of it.
Yeah, but I'd eat
Variety.
mostly spinach, and now I find out that can
But
cause
that's not a variety.
kidney stones. I passed a kidney stone. I know what that's like.
There you go.
That's why I carry this around with me all the
Lots of
time,
water.
drinking water.
Water.
And then I found out that drinking water all the time washes something else. Electrolytes out of your system. So then you have to have the electrolytes. I'm thinking, I should have a whole cabinet full of all these things. And mix them all.
Yeah.
No, but it's not that difficult.
No.
We tell people just eat a good variety, eat the rainbow, so to speak, eat a good variety, put colors on your plate, a good variety of plant-based foods.
And you're bringing up a good point, which is when people attend our events, we get these kind of questions, and then it becomes almost like a distraction from eating healthy.
Yeah.
So it's like now they want to get too particular about certain things. About, like you said, do you have to be a chemist? But if you focus too much on that, you're more likely not to eat healthy foods, and then you go back to the foods that you don't even question. What kind of hormones are in your meat? What has it been injected with? Growth hormones, things that can contribute to health problems.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like we don't question that. We don't question what's in the milk and the cheese and the chicken, whether it's like, for example, the fish has been grown and farmed with a lot of other pesticides and other antibiotics that are taught. No one questions that. But when it comes to kale and spinach, we start to question, is it organic? So I think it's a distraction.
I've recently read about how good pomegranates are, but I don't know what to do about the seeds. You don't want to be biting on those seeds, right?
That's how we eat them. Like, almost like popcorn,
What part
but
of the
seeds.
pomegranate are you talking about? The
seeds?
Well,
little
isn't that-
red things?
How do you do it?
Yeah, that's we just peel them, get all those red rubies, I call them. I grew up calling them rubies.
Yeah.
My mom, I said, Mom, I want some rubies to eat.
And you just throw it in your Vitamix with your
Yeah,
smoothie?
or put it on your salad.
We
or-
just eat it. Yeah,
You
it
just
has
eat
a
it.
little crunchy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crunchies.
Yeah, I really
So
like that.
You can use them in a variety of ways. Put them in your, like you said, put them in your smoothie or put them on your salad or
This
whatever.
is your breakfast.
Well,
is that right?
typically we start off our day differently, but when we travel, we find that it's very hard to be as healthy as when
sure.
we're at home, because at home we have access to our salads and everything else. So I would prefer something a little more solid in the morning.
Yeah.
But because we're traveling, so we start off right now, we've been starting off with smoothies, and then we try to make sure we get a salad. But then we eat what people are afraid of, carbs,
Yeah.
potatoes.
Potatoes.
And whole, we
So for
love
lunch, would that be your lunch or breakfast too?
No, I would probably start off with an oatmeal in the morning.
Oatmeal.
And then I'll have something hearty, like a 3-bean chili soup or lentils and rice. What you eat for lunch or dinner doesn't have to be significantly
Mm-hmm.
different, as long as it's satisfying and satiating. And if you're only eating salads, you'll be hungry and then more likely
I know,
to
that's my
add the
problem.
other
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
that's kind of a little fallacy that many people think that a plant-based diet or a vegan diet is just everybody eating a salad, and that's probably comes from when you go out and you want to eat something at a restaurant that didn't have any choices. All they do is give you a salad.
Give you a salad, right.
But that's not all you can eat. So for me, traditionally, my breakfast might be I'll be very honest with you. I typically didn't eat a breakfast back in the old days. I was, as a surgeon, I would get up in the morning and I'd grab my coffee and I'd run to work and see my patients and then start operating at 7 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Even continue operating through to the afternoon and skip lunch.
How many operations would that be?
It varies. Some
Yeah,
are
I
long, some are
suppose.
short. So one day I might do 4 or 5 operations. One day I might do 2 that take the whole day.
Yeah.
And so it depends on what I've got going.
Somebody once said, never get an operation in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because
We'll digress right here. I'll tell you a funny story. Back a long time ago when I was taking trauma call and vascular surgery call, I'm an old man now, so I get to get off of those things. And no one wants to do all that irregular lifestyle. It's already irregular enough. But when I was on call, there was one time when I already had 3 or 4 surgeries on the schedule. And I started at 7:30 one morning, and I did those, and then I was on call, and several emergencies came in. I ended up operating throughout the entire night, and then I had a surgical schedule for the next day, and it was 2 smaller surgeries and then a big one. And I did the 2 smaller surgeries. By the time I got to the big one, it was about 2:00 in the afternoon. I'd been operating nearly 7:30 to 7:30, so nearly 30 hours straight. And I went to that patient upstairs and I said, look, you know what? I think it's probably in your best interest if we don't do this operation. And they were a little bit upset at me. But when I sat down and talked with them and I said, look, you want your surgeon to be sharp and you want him to be, well rested. And I've been working for the last 30 hours. He got over being upset because he had been waiting to have the operation, and I'm sure he had his hopes up, and I felt bad for him, but I had to think of his best interest in mind. So, your story is don't get a tired surgeon in the afternoon, and I would say that's probably not a bad idea. Yeah.
So back to the holidays.
Yes. So let me.
In fact, let me tell about my foods. So
okay.
Typically I would, if I have time, I'll do oatmeal and throw some berries like blueberries on top and strawberries and maybe sprinkle it with cinnamon.
No sugar.
No sugar, no. And I typically I don't use water. I will use an alternative milk like almond milk or soy milk as my base.
Milk.
Yeah,
We've
as
been
my
using
base.
oat milk.
Yeah, sure.
I heard that's really good too. Very creamy.
Yeah,
But
it
if
is.
I'm
I like it
feeling
better.
lazy or I'm in a hurry, for me, a smoothie is a real good alternative because I'm a big greens person, and this is a great way to get a lot of greens into you. I can just get the smoothie and I can drink it for the morning. And then at lunch, many times a week, I'll have a potato topped with either some sort of beans, black beans, lentils, or a vegan chili, and throw some veggies like broccoli or corn or asparagus on there, and that's a lunch. And I don't mind eating the same things over and over again, and these are very hearty and very filling and refreshing. And at dinner, we have a variety of foods, what Maya and I do together.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tacos, and sometimes it's pizza, and
Noodles?
Yeah, eat
We
noodles,
still
healthy
do
noodles.
whole, as long as it's a whole wheat, or I know that some people deal with wheat and all
Rice.
that, but we still do rice noodles as well. We love. And I wanted to say real quick about that too. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine that always gives tips on how to get started says really we typically at favor 7 to 9 dishes and rotate them in general. Most of us, like if you were to make a list of what you typically eat, like track it for a month, you would probably find that you eat about the same foods all the time. So we just recommend eating the healthier versions of them, whole food without any oil, and SOS, salt, oil, and sugar-free. And then going back to the Thanksgiving or holiday meals, what I did in our website, just because we just recently had a fall potluck, and I wanted to give recipes for people. I tie them all back to Forks Over Knives, which is a wonderful website, and also app, and they have their printed copy recipe books too. But
They have a magazine now, too.
Oh, and the magazine.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. But what I added on there on the, our plantbaseddfw.com was some of those recipes, and which can be even vegan or plant-based cornbread and mashed potatoes and gravy. And they all have such healthy ingredients without all the added salt and the added oil, which we find very
A
hard.
lentil meatloaf as an alternative to having the turkey.
And then also you might find the resources in your own community where you can have pre-made foods. So this Thanksgiving, we sort of spend the holidays separately in 2 different states with our mothers. So he was in Dallas, I was in Phoenix, and I contacted in each city a local plant-based prepping company, and they both provided healthy options for us because I couldn't cook at my mom's house. I went ahead and ordered enough for the family to sample. So they had the mashed potatoes and the gravy and the lentil loaf and the pumpkin pie, and they loved it. And it's like no animal product in the food.
Those would be easy,
it's
substitutes.
I might bring up, what I'd like to bring up is that we have this, it's a tradition to eat turkey. It's kind of a cultural thing, but we don't have to have that tradition. You can have a tradition to just have the other things. And, at my house, or it wasn't my house, it was my uncle's house. And this year, we had plant-based eaters and we had non-plant-based eaters. And so they did cook a turkey but there was 12 dishes that they made. 9 of them were healthy vegan dishes that I could eat. The only 3 I couldn't eat was the turkey, the turkey dressing, and one of the rolls that had used butter.
Yeah.
Right.
And very often the gravy, which is a turkey base.
Yeah, so it was a turkey gravy.
Gravy
but they had
too,
made me a healthy alternative gravy, and all of the other sides were healthy sides and desserts and dishes that had no salt, no oil, and no sugar. And at the end of the day, several of the people said, "Wow, these dishes were great. Why don't we do this every year?" And I was like, no, duh. I mean, here you go. You just, and if you wanted to learn to eliminate the turkey from the meal, you haven't negated all the healthiness of that meal by eating something that's unhealthy for you.
Well, I have to say, any faux turkey product is not worth your money. The stuff is horrible. we had a big vegetarian Thanksgiving one year, and they brought out this round thing that
It's like shoe leather.
Yeah.
it was really don't even bother. We also have the Impossible Burger, the Beyond Burger, which is a product. It's not necessarily, it's better than eating meat.
Yes.
I think you have to be careful with the terminology here.
Right.
Those are plant-based, but they're not whole food plant-based. So they are processed plant-based foods. And remember earlier I said we need to learn to get away from processed foods. But at the same time, I don't negate them as a transitional tool.
We understand people are at different
and
stages.
if somebody eats those instead of killing an animal to eat,
yes.
there's a huge benefit there. So and then even these you talked about a plant-based turkey substitute. I think things have come a long ways and people are using those. Again, I'd say if you do that instead of having a turkey at your table, that's a great start.
It's a step up.
Yeah.
Definitely a step up.
But in the long run, we tell people it's fine to use those as a transition or to have once in a blue moon, but don't make a habit of it because actually they're not very healthy for you. The Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger, and I hope they don't get angry at me for saying this, is that
the vascular surgeon.
This is a health thing. Is they have a lot of fat in them, and so one of them has a lot of saturated fat in it
And salt, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
and
had
they're
to try it
processed,
once, but that's all.
Sure.
Just to try it.
It's the same way. We can't be too extreme when we're talking to people that have never even sampled plant-based foods in general. Like in a recent trip, I took a niece of mine and her family. I treated them to a place they've never been at, which is all plant-based, very healthy, very little processed foods. That was the first time that they ate in that location, and her husband ordered like a black bean burger, or kind of, maybe it was the Beyond Burger because there was very little processed. He loved it, and he said, "This is my first time trying this." And for me, it was gratifying because I introduced them to something they otherwise would not have tried.
I think she
And
said
then
he even
over
mentioned to
time-
her that, hey, maybe we should
consider
this
going
lifestyle.
vegan. But so I wouldn't hit him up with something like a salad immediately, because that's not going to be an easy way to get someone to cross over.
I
So
don't
you
think
sort of-
salad is a meal.
Yeah. Now,
Well, I
at the
agree.
same time, we encourage
hungry
the
with
green
that.
leafy vegetables.
yeah,
but
I
find
wanna
ways to
have
make
it
them,
every
find
day.
ways to make them.
Yeah.
She has it for breakfast. She has salads for breakfast. That's just wrong.
Oh, and by the way, back to my daily thing, something we also try to do almost every day is have a nice salad mixed with the various leafy greens. But on top of it, we throw cut fruit, cranberries, ground flaxseed, nuts, chopped onions, and so we give it a lot of flavors. You can put corn on there, you can put black beans on there, and suddenly you got to really take. It's not just your typical salad,
Yeah.
Right.
And we very rarely even use salad dressing.
Right.
One of my favorite things to do is to do chopped watermelon when I can get it in season, because it's juicy and it's
Yeah.
kind of.
Bobby
do all
does
that.
that. Yeah.
On
And
the
so-
other hand, I've been telling people in your smoothie, add a few vegetables to your fruit
yeah,
smoothie.
good
People
idea.
just don't think about. Can I ask you again now? What's your website? Something DFW,
Plant-based
plant-based.
DFW. It's
Okay.
all one word, .com.
Plant-based.
Plant-based. So there are two D's there. Plant-based
DFW.com.
DFW.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, because I'm always looking for good recipes. And recently, Bill got some tortillas. He said, "Now, what should we put in it?" What would you say to him?
Oh my goodness. So
We made our travel package on the way here.
a friend of ours taught us a jar system, which we may not have time to talk about, but briefly, it's where you kind of get together and you sign up for it. In this case, say we had 12 people, we signed up to prepare 12 jars of one ingredient. And then every person in the group chops and prepares one ingredient different from each other. Then we get together at our friend's house and we exchange jars and walk away with 12 jars of different ingredients that you can use for tacos, burritos, soups, salads. So you have like carrots and red onion and red cabbage. We like the colors. Broccoli, cauliflower, black beans.
rice.
And so if you keep those ingredients chopped and ready to go regularly, you'll always have something.
Yeah.
But, for us, we always have to have something like brown rice so that we're not starving.
Right.
We still need the potato. We still need yams, all that good stuff, right, hon?
And the
Beets.
yams that we love, the sweet potatoes that we get from Japanese. are they
Japanese sweet
Oh, yeah.
potatoes.
We
One
love
of our
them.
guest told us
love
about
those.
that.
Whenever we can get them, we try to get them.
my
Now,
God.
have you tried the purple ones from Molokai? We don't care for those.
Oh,
Oh,
Too
okay.
dry.
I tried them here.
Yeah,
there
they're
are
too
some
dry.
that are dry.
Well, we've
but
had
the
some while we were
Japanese-
here. I don't know where they were from. Yeah. So what do you put on a burrito? For me, a very simple one is just layer it with some brown rice, put some black beans on there, and then if you want to, put some lettuce, some red onions, whatever
Avocado.
else appeals to you.
Yeah.
We had some a kind of a tofu scramble that I threw in there that's spicy and wrap it up, and you've got something nice to eat.
And I have to give a credit to the mushroom because mushrooms can add an awful lot of flavor to
Yeah.
a dish, even though I'm not sure if they have any nutrient.
Oh, they are
nutrient
packed full of nutrients.
Are they really?
Yeah.
They don't seem. They're so unobtrusive. They're
Isn't that
so
interesting?
quiet and
And they're not a plant.
Right.
That's
nobody knows what they are.
They're a
really.
fungus, yeah,
It's
so-
a fungus,
yeah.
but where did it come from?
So it's
It's like from outer space. Or
yeah,
something.
I won't say any bad jokes about that. But when I'm giving my talks and I talk about the variety of foods that we need to eat, I show all these different plant varieties, and I do include the mushroom. And there's a whole variety of mushrooms. And interestingly enough, the other day I had a meal that one of our hosts had made over in Oahu, and I had seen her chopping up some mushrooms. And then in the meal, I didn't notice them, but I said to my wife that was a very interesting pasta in the mushroom because they were very short strands. And later she told me, well, that was the mushroom because it was this long, skinny
What are
mushroom.
they called?
really?
They're the long ones that come in a pack. And
The little tiny heads.
Yes, I forgot what they're
Really?
called.
Yeah.
But it tasted like pasta.
And I thought it was pasta.
Yeah.
And, so you can.
Yeah.
That's
And
another.
You get also the portobello. You can actually barbecue
Yes,
Right.
a big
yes.
portobello and put it between a couple of. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Deep bread now at all?
We still eat bread, but
Yeah.
it should be. It's
Dave's
not white,
Killer Bread.
not white
Organic,
flours.
whole grain,
Whole-grain
sprouted,
breads.
preferably.
Yeah, sure.
Preferably. Dave's Killer Bread is one of our favorites.
Well,
Dave's.
he eats
Yes,
that, and I
yes.
say that's made in a factory. It's got a lot of ingredients.
Yeah. And
Ezekiel bread has no oil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one to try.
I think that
Yes.
again that one thing we don't do is tell people they have to live this extremely, this life over here where. I guess basically what we're saying is we try to meet people where they are and help them move
Yes,
along.
yes.
Yeah, sure.
We don't expect somebody to go from a standard American diet
No.
to a perfect whole food plant-based diet
Yeah.
overnight. And a lot of people will find a few things that they need to include in their diet in order to make their lives fine. I tell people that if you live a mostly going back to the blue zones, which are these areas which we haven't really described in detail, but they're not all 100% plant-based. They all might eat a little bit of meat or a little bit of olive oil or something like that from time to time, but it's like once a month or once every couple of weeks. And so they're not 100% plant-based, but they're plant slant and mostly plants.
Plant slant?
Yeah, plant slant. Now, I
New
mean,
expression I never
we
heard.
personally choose to have a whole 100% whole food plant-based lifestyle, and because it is the healthiest you can do.
And because we're vegan.
Yeah.
And we care about the animals and
Yeah.
we care about the environment.
Right.
Well, yesterday I went to an event and my only choice was a Caesar salad. Is that okay? I said, it's not like I have a peanut allergy and I'm going to die. So it's the holidays. I can indulge in a Caesar salad. I'd rather not, but we're human. And
Right.
I don't know if you know, well, anyway, 95% is still an A, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
and-
you can't worry about the
I also
results.
think from my medical perspective, it depends on what your intent is. If you live a life that's whole food, plant-based, and relatively good, you can make mistakes here and there, and there's can be some indiscretions, and it's not going to hurt you. But if you've already got advanced disease that you're trying to treat, you really need to go all the way, because if you want to try to arrest that cancer or you want to reverse that atherosclerosis, you can't go halfway on that. You have to go all in because you're trying to get rid of the problem. And I would say that's very much like what you would do if you're going to the doctor. If they're going to crack your chest to do a bypass, you're going all in.
Yeah.
Okay? Or if you got a cancer and you're getting 3-dose chemotherapy that's going to make your hair fall out and make you feel bad and throw up all the time, you're going all in. So you're willing to go all in with those therapies. Well, why aren't you willing to go all in with your diet to try to make those things change
And
as
that's
well?
why we like-
And that diet isn't going to do those things. They're not going to, that the cracking your chest and the chemotherapy is going to do to you.
And that's why we like having, whenever we can, potlucks as well, because we provide people resources to find the recipe they want to cook. And then we all come together. They don't have to be vegan and fully plant-based, but, we come around, we all provide plant-based dishes, and then they get to flavor the foods. And it's really about introducing dishes to people so that they're more likely to eat those on a regular basis.
I think it's important to take the right steps, and you don't have to make a big transition all at once. I think one of the most important steps you can take, if you can do it, if you have a family, it might be more difficult. Just eliminate all those things in your refrigerator, in your cupboards,
Yeah.
all those things that are going against your health.
Right.
The dairy, the
Processed foods.
all the processed food, all those things. If you can start, even if it's just a matter of going from one product to another, just eliminate meat. And find substitutes, other things that you can, whether it's grains and so on and so forth. But to do that, you're creating a situation where the only way you can get those foods that you have a hankering for, as we used to say, back in the old West, the only way you can get rid of those is by first creating a healthy house and eliminating all the candy and the
Right.
so
Absolutely.
on and so forth.
You got to clean up your backyard first.
Clean up your backyard, and then the only way you're going to get it is by going outside and going to a restaurant or something. Fortunately, there are a lot of great restaurants, vegan restaurants and healthy restaurants now. You must have a number in your city,
Yeah.
and I know we do here now.
Yeah.
Back in the day, in the 70s, I was involved with a big communal group, and we had natural food restaurants, sort of before anybody even knew what natural food was, you know. And we served up a vegetarian burger that was just mostly beans and a few grains and things. It was pretty easy to make, and we fried it up, but it was something you can make at home, and it's just very satisfying.
Yeah.
So it's not just a matter of eliminating from your house, but it's a matter of substituting other things that you're going to be craving for. Because like I say, you love the things that you grew up with as a kid.
Right, and you can have all those things just in a different form.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's important to understand, and I was probably a victim of this too, is that I used to think a whole food plant-based diet or a vegan diet was boring and tasteless, and many people think that. That's still out there today, and what they don't realize is that we can use the same spices and different things to flavor up our meals so it tastes the same way. You know, you can use barbecue-based type barbecue sauces and different spices and things, and the food can taste great.
Soy sauce?
Yeah.
Usually
low
high,
sodium.
kind of high in salt.
I would look for the low sodium
Or
options.
tamari, I think it's a better
Tamari,
form.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I just want to get back to the exercise for a moment. Since you're a heart doctor, okay, so if I spend from 7 to 8:30 when I go to sleep, if I'm lucky, watching the tube, does that mean I can make up for that by exercising more? I mean, do you balance it out that way?
Well, I wouldn't look at it as making up for it. And here's an idea. While you're watching YouTube, walk on the treadmill. You know, just not even at a fast pace.
Yeah.
Or stand up and walk in place. You know what I mean? You know, so it's you can do things that make that activity not as bad for you. You know, don't lay on the couch and watch.
My willpower is great in the morning, and it gets less as the day goes on, and I just accept
we all have
that.
varying willpower from time to time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no.
It's
I think
you know.
you do the best you can.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's bad to sit there and watch YouTube videos. It's just where our point is that you have to understand what these choices are, what their meaning is for you. And our society typically will go home in the evening and watch 4 or 5 hours of TV, and that's not good for you. So then try to learn to do other things. Get out and go for a walk, or take a dance class, or insert activity into your lifestyle rather than just being sitting there every single night in front of the TV for 4 or 5 hours.
Dr. Greger recommends that if you are, at a desk job sitting 6 to 8 hours a day, just get up every hour. Because the problem comes in when the blood is not properly circulating in the system because we're, sitting so long, and just get up and move. And same thing, if you're watching TV, get up and wash dishes or prepare a meal or do something else, do laundry, whatever it may be, and then come back. I don't recommend sitting for so long.
Yeah.
Stay active.
Well,
in other
active.
words.
We have about 4 minutes left, and you didn't even talk about heart as much as you're going to tonight. And we were talking before the show, many people don't even know they have a heart disease. 20-years
Right.
have heart
so
disease.
in a nutshell, I'm a vascular surgeon. That means I treat the blood vessels of the body. There's a few different specialties that treat blood vessels. The cardiologist is the heart doctor who does either it doesn't invade or doesn't operate, or does just the punctures for angioplasties and stents. The heart surgeon is the one who opens up the chest and does the heart bypass operations, and that those two doctors do the heart. I am a vascular surgeon. I do every other blood vessel in the body, and I do both sides. I do both the medical therapy, and I do the puncture-based procedures, and I do the bypass operations. So I also then am the doctor who does the medical therapies. And so important in what I teach patients, I talk about lifestyle, the changes you can make in your lifestyle to impact and work on getting better. And so we all treat the same disease, which is atherosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries. We commonly call it heart disease, but it's the medical term is atherosclerosis. We also call it hardening of the arteries. We call it plaque buildup. Those are all kind of interchangeable terms.
And this isn't necessarily going to happen as you age?
Well, so that's a good question. And now, it's the number one killer of Americans. 40% of Americans are afflicted by symptomatic and significant heart disease by the end of their lives. The reality is most Americans have atherosclerosis to some extent. and they just don't know it. And it's a slow, indolent, chronic disease that's building up over the course of decades. And we used to think, oh, it starts in your 20s and 30s, and by the time you're 50, 60, and 70, it begins to manifest or show itself with symptoms. Because it's like a pipe that's slowly clogging. Early on, you're not going to get symptoms, but when it clogs up enough, you start to see problems. And I like to point to an interesting study from the 1950s, from the Korean War. They brought home 300 consecutive vets who were killed and did autopsies on them, and they saw that 77% of them had the beginnings of atherosclerosis. Now, the interesting part of this is that their average age was 22 years old. So 77% had atherosclerosis by the age of 22.
I'm glad you can pronounce that word, because I have a heck of a time with it.
It only took me 15 years of training. So
We've been talking with Dr. Riz and I, MD, who will be talking at the J. Walter Cameron Center tonight, 7 p.m. This is December 12th, Thursday, and it's a free talk. Thanks to the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, who also record their talks on Oahu, and you can check with the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii for those. The Cameron Center at 95 Mahalani Street tonight. Thank you so much, Dr. Riz and Maya.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having us.
Thanks to the Vegetarian Society, the voice of Maui. I'm Bill Best. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Been listening to the Plant Based DFW podcast show. If you like our content, please like, share, and leave a review. Our goal is to provide quality episodes to help support the community.